All right, let's talk about the most incredible machine in the entire known universe. And the wild part is you have one. It's that 3-pound chunk of tissue sitting inside your skull that is, right this second, creating your entire reality. So, how on earth does it work? Let's dive in.
I know, it's a huge question, right? But here's how we're going to tackle it. First, we're going to explore its amazing protective fortress. Then, we'll map out the major regions. And finally, we'll meet the tiny messengers that power every single thought, feeling, and action you've ever had.
You know, the story starts way before we're even born. Early on in a pregnancy, the brain's main part, the cerebrum, is actually totally smooth. But then, it starts to develop all these incredible folds and grooves. And here's the genius part. This is nature's brilliant solution to a packing problem. How do you fit an absolute supercomputer into a tiny space? You fold it. This trick maximizes the surface area, letting you cram in billions and billions of neurons.
Okay, so when you've got an organ this important, the #1 priority has to be security. So let's start our tour by looking at the brain's really impressive, multi-layered defense system. It's basically a 3-part system. First, you've got the obvious one, right? The hard, bony skull. But underneath that, there are 2 more sophisticated layers of protection, a tough, flexible membrane called the meninges, and this remarkable liquid cushion that we're about to see. So, diving a little deeper, the meninges aren't just 1 layer, they're 3. Think of it like some kind of high-tech, multi-layered body armor. The outermost layer, the dura mater, is incredibly tough. I mean, its name literally means tough mother. Then you have the arachnoid layer, and finally, clinging right to the brain itself, is the super delicate pia mater.
And floating between those layers is where you find this stuff, the cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF for short. It's this clear liquid that's kind of like a moat and a shock absorber all rolled into one. It literally lets your brain float, protecting it from all the bumps and jolts of daily life. And as a bonus, it also helps clear out waste products. Pretty smart.
And get this just shows you how active that whole system is. Your brain produces about 500 milliliters, that's about half a liter or a pint, of this fluid every single day. It's constantly being refreshed to keep the brain's environment perfectly safe and squeaky clean.
All right, so we know how the brain is protected. Now it's time to get past the defenses and take a look at the main layout. Think of it as mapping the brain's major continents.
So, if you zoom way out, you can pretty much divide the brain into 3 main parts. You've got the giant cerebrum up top, which handles all the high-level stuff like thinking and language. Then there's the cerebellum tucked in at the back, which is in charge of balance and coordination. And finally, you have the brainstem, which connects to the spinal cord and manages all the automatic stuff that keeps you alive without you even thinking about it, like breathing.
But let's zoom in on the biggest player here, the cerebrum. It's split into 4 different sections, or lobes, and each one has its own special job. Your frontal lobe, right at the front, is like the CEO. It handles planning and problem solving. Your parietal lobe processes sensations, like touch and temperature. The temporal lobes on the sides manage hearing and memory. And the occipital lobe, way at the back, its whole world is decoding everything you're seeing on this screen right now.
And here's a super weird fact for you. The brain's wiring is crossed. The left half of your brain gets signals from and controls the right side of your body. And you guessed it, the right half controls the left side of your body. It's pretty wild when you think about it.
Okay, so we've seen the big picture, the large-scale map. But how does information actually get from one place to another? To understand that, we need to zoom in. I mean, way in, to the microscopic level and check out the brain's internal wiring.
So the brain is basically made of 2 types of stuff, gray matter and white matter. The absolute easiest way to think about it is like this. The gray matter has all the nerve cell bodies. Those are the actual computers. And the white matter, that's made of all the long nerve fibers that connect them. Those are the cables that carry information between all the computers.
And that computer itself is a special cell, called a neuron. It's a really beautiful, simple system. You have these branch-like things called dendrites that receive a signal. The main cell body processes that signal, and if it's strong enough, boom, it fires a brand new signal down a long cable called an axon to the next neuron in the chain.
But how does the signal actually jump from one neuron to the next one? Well, it happens at this impossibly tiny junction called a synapse. It's a microscopic gap where chemical messengers literally ferry the signal across. This is what allows this vast network of billions of neurons to talk to each other. Every single thought you have is a massive storm of activity happening across trillions of these tiny gaps.
Okay, we've got the architecture, we've got the wiring, now let's plug it all in and bring it to life. For our last section, we're going on a rapid-fire tour of some of the brain's most important control centers to see what they actually do.
Deep inside the brain, we find the thalamus. You can seriously think of this as the grand central station for your senses. Pretty much everything you see, hear, and feel passes through here first. The thalamus is the bouncer that decides what's important enough to be sent up to your conscious awareness. It's the ultimate filter.
Next up, let's talk about the hippocampus. This is your personal memory architect. Do you remember what you had for breakfast this morning? Yep, you can thank your hippocampus for that. It's the part responsible for taking your daily experiences and turning them into long-term memories. Without it, you couldn't make any new ones.
Working right alongside the hippocampus is the amygdala. This is the brain's emotional alarm system. It's what attaches feelings to your memories, and it's especially tuned in to fear and danger. You know that gut feeling that says, uh-oh, this is a bad idea? That is your amygdala talking, loud and clear. Now this little guy is the absolute unsung hero of the brain, the hypothalamus. This tiny region is a master control center for your entire body. Are you hungry? Thirsty? Feeling a little too hot or too cold? The hypothalamus is working behind the scenes 24/7 to keep all of those critical systems in perfect balance, and you never even have to think about it.
Remember the cerebellum from our map a little while ago? Well, this is its main job. It's the master of movement. When you decide to walk across the room, it's the cerebellum that translates that clumsy thought into a smooth, coordinated, and balanced action. Every graceful movement, from writing your name to riding a bike, is fine-tuned right here.
And honestly, the list just goes on and on. You've got the motor cortex that actually executes the movements. The massive corpus callosum is like a superhighway of nerves connecting the two halves of your brain so they can talk to each other. And the tiny little pineal gland produces melatonin to tell you when it's time to sleep. It's a whole ecosystem of specialized parts all working together.
So, when you put it all together, the protective layers, the huge regions, the billions of neurons firing across trillions of synapses, you get this, the most complex object in the known universe, and it's right there inside your head, running your entire world every single second of every day.
And that leaves us with one last kind of mind-blowing thought to chew on. If your brain can do all of this incredible, complex stuff just on autopilot, what is it truly capable of? What is its true potential when you actually decide to use it with focus and intention?